Mr. and Mrs. Rivera, I'm glad you're getting a divorce. Mrs. Rivera, I will say this to you. You're foolish. You had a good thing. As soon as it wasn't a perfect thing, it made you angry. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. You most certainly are not perfect. And the next guy you get is not going to be perfect. And unless you're willing to put up with a little bit of, they say for better or for worse for a reason. It's not going to be all lollipops and sunshine. And when it's not lollipops and sunshine for your husband, you at least give him a lollipop. You might not be able to make the sun shine, but you can give him a lollipop, and you didn't do it. You decided that your marriage was about you, for you, and because of you, and when he hit a rough patch, you were like, I'm sick of you. I'm tired of it. You're not a king and wonderful anymore because you're not doing everything I want to. You're no longer Mr. Perfect, and I have no obligation to give anything to you. That's tired and that's sad and it's good.
All right, my friends, alrighty. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about a video that's been sort of making the rounds on TikTok. It's basically another TikTok confession. And guys, if you really want to understand female nature, you got to go over to the great therapy department, TikTok. That's where women go to just dump whatever's in their head over there. And they share information with each other. And listen, this isn't just me. You're going to hear it from this lady right here, because I was quite shocked when I heard this video. I knew it was going on, but I didn't know how severe it is. So let's get into it. I don't want to waste any more time. And gentlemen, it's one way of warning you, especially you married men, get your wives off of TikTok, because if she's at home consuming this crap, you're going to be in trouble, my friend. All right, let's listen up.
Here are my predictions for the future of cishet relationships over the next 20 years. History will look back on this period of time from probably 2020 to 2025, but maybe even to 2030, and they're going to refer to it as the Great Divorce or something like that. Maybe the relationship realignment, but the Great Divorce is catchier. We're not only going to see an unparalleled spike in divorces, but we're going to see an unparalleled drop in marriages, particularly remarriages, which are going to fall off a cliff deeper than the Grand Canyon. Right now, cishet men and women are starting this game of chicken, so to speak. As women are just now contending with their unhappiness in long-term relationships, men are right now doubling down. They're trying to call our bluff. They're trying to say, listen, I hear you asking for something different, but you've always complied in the past. So if we just hold the line, if we hold firm, you'll comply this time as well. But what they're missing is that this time is different. This time you have a bunch of women communicating with each other and figuring out for the first time that their unhappiness within heterosexual relationships, particularly marriage, is a feature, not a bug. And the only reason we're realizing this is because...
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Women are not happy in marriages. Let's unpack that. Let's go right back to critical thinking, my friends. You know I like to look at everything from a critical perspective. Women are not happy in heterosexual marriages. Please tell me, why would you marry a man that you were not happy with? That's number one. All of a sudden, you became unhappy in your marriage? Is that what you're saying to me? In other words, the wedding and the blissfulness of the photos, sharing the photos on Instagram, that was your definition of a wedding. And now when life is part of the marriage, that you're not happy? I'm trying to understand what is it that women are not happy with in marriages. And here's the reality of it, my friends. And I'm hoping that the ladies are listening to this. Please, guys, share this with more women. And please note, this is going to be quite a lengthy video because it's a teaching moment. Take it from a man. I've been through 2 divorces already. Just so you understand that. I got married very young for a man. My first marriage was at, 23?
I've been a divorce lawyer for 40 years, and here's why it is a bad idea to get married in your teens and your 20s. Who you were at 18 or 20 is not the same person you're going to be at 30. You don't have financial stability. You don't have a career. You don't know where you're going. There's so many question marks, and you haven't developed into who you are. You're just trying to figure things out.
It lasted 3 years. Second one, I waited another 10 years. And then I got married again. and that never went over 3 years. And then finally did it again, and I'm going on a little over 18 years, almost 19 years now with this same woman. And she likes to put it like this. The first two marriages were the tests, and then you finally realize how to do it. But the reason I tell you my history is for this one simple point. And please note, before I go on, I never had kids from my two previous marriages. It's only in my third marriage that I decided I'm going to have kids, okay? So that you understand, I'm not some deadbeat dad, etc., etc. I'm trying to paint to you guys a picture of my life. But what's more important and what I want you to take away from this is that I have deep knowledge on marriages. I'm now 57 years old. I've been with the same woman for 19, almost 20 years, okay? Like I say in most of my videos, it's not happiness all the time. I am not happy all the time in this marriage. Neither is my wife. But we both understand that marriages are not about happiness. This is where these idiots are losing the plot. They're trying to convince women that you're supposed to be happy all the time in your marriage. And it's an illusion. It's a Disney fairy tale bullshit illusion. And the second something goes wrong in any of these females' marriages, because this is what she's basically saying, that's the time for divorce.
Mrs. Rivera, I will say this to you. You're foolish. You had a good thing. As soon as it wasn't a perfect thing, it made you angry. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. You most certainly are not perfect. And the next guy you get is not going to be perfect. And unless you're willing to put up with a little bit of, they say for better or for worse for a reason. It's not going to be all lollipops and sunshine. And when it's not lollipops and sunshine for your husband, you at least give him a lollipop.
Marriages were never about happiness. Nowhere in the vows that you took, it says, until happiness do us part. Nowhere. It simply says, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. That's there for a specific reason. Marriages, like I said, is like a wave. Sometimes the wave moves out, sometimes it comes in. Sometimes it's gentle, sometimes the freaking waters are rough. The couples who can ride the waves and enjoy the calm, but also handle the rough waves, those are the true marriages.
Who's your greatest love, and why did you fall in love with them?
My greatest love was John. He's my soulmate. Always was, always will be. I love him forever. He's just like a part of me. We didn't think the same way. We had different personalities, so it wasn't that. He's my soulmate forever. There'd never be another person like John. We completed each other. We got married in 1950. And I have a story to tell you there.
Please.
John had 3 sisters, one of whom we got very close, so we double dated. I don't know who said it, but somebody said, why don't we have a double wedding? And we did.
How did you like that?
Oh, it was great. You didn't hear it all yet. You wait.
Okay, let me hear it.
And we had a double honeymoon. And we borrowed John's father's car to go. We were so poor.
Do you remember when he asked you out?
I do. Remember, I'm 94. My memory. Okay. Let me stop and think. We would go to a 50-cent movie in Charleroi.
That's a deal.
It was sure a deal for him because he didn't have any money. It was very exciting. I was in love. I don't know. Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
So you know that feeling.
Yeah,
it just goes all through you, right?
Of course.
From head to toes.
Yes, it does. What's your name?
Wilma.
Hunter.
Hunter. Did you ever hear a silly story like that?
That's a beautiful story.
We had a beautiful life, Hunter. We really did.
And the reason why I wanted to do this video today isn't because this simple video, but because I had this same discussion with a lady at the gym who came at me with this idea that the reason why she or most women don't want to get married now, the reason that they're single is because they're not finding eligible men that would make them happy. And it's just mind-blowing, the fact that all of these women who are living in great times are not happy. It just blows my mind. We need to understand, why is it that in the best of times that women are not happy? We need to really check this out. And when I say we, gentlemen, you have to check it out. You have to vet the women that you get involved with even more carefully. That is what I'm trying to say. You have to understand their mindset and to see if this is going to be a woman that's going to be with you for the long run. My wife and I, we've had our shit times, I'm telling you. But the point is, we have kids and we understand duty and responsibility. But she understands that there are certain things in our marriage where, hey, the man makes the decisions ultimately. I make sure I consult with her and I get her counsel all the time, every single time on important decisions. Okay? I respect and I make sure that she has a sense of responsibility. Gentlemen, do not encourage your woman to become a housewife. I know it is the best way of ensuring that your kids get the education that you would like them to get. But in reality, a woman sitting at home bored on the internet talking to her friends is a nightmare, because these influencers, these women on TikTok that are blowing their heads up with this crap, this will be the downfall of a lot of marriages. All right, let's go on and hear what else she has to say in her great wisdom.
Most of us have spent our entire lives being like, I'm just buggy. Either there's something about me that's not good at relationships, or there's something about the men that I pick. I've got a buggy picker, or, I just don't have the capacity to be happy in relationships. It's a me problem, right? But because of social media and TikTok in particular, we're all comparing notes.
Yeah, it's you that have the problem. You are buggy. You got that right. Because if you decide to marry a man and only stay with that man during the good times, you have the problem, my dear. Because what type of human being are you that says that, hey, I'm only with you for the good time? If anything goes wrong, if you lose your job, if you gain weight, if you do anything or say anything that I don't like that would make me unhappy, if you don't buy me what I want, if you don't let me go out with my friends and go on vacations whenever I want with my friends, if you don't pay for my shoes, my hair, my nails, and all of the other things that make you happy, you are not a good husband. And they don't have to come all at once. At any time that you don't do these things, that I go through a period of unhappiness, I want a divorce. You are the bad person. You are buggy. Yeah. Just because you say it in a matter-of-fact way as to indicate that it shouldn't be you, that doesn't mean it's not you, my dear. Yes, it's you. I bet you if you reverse the roles and I did any of those things as a man and put that pressure on you, then you would say, I'm the bad person.
Why are the women turning back on their men? Why?
Because they're selfish. If there's 10 marriages, 2 are the men leaving, 8 are the women leaving. So who's the problem? This is why I say modern women are selfish, because it's me before the family. And that's why they say when you look at a society and see how it's doing, you look at the women. And the women say they're overweight, they've slept with more people, and we're less successful in relationships than ever before. We're the ones ruining it.
The single most unhappiest demographic, there's lots of data on this, is 40-year-old single unmarried women.
Hollywood has brainwashed us into thinking that traditional women were not happy. And for nature, men like women that are pure, because historically they had to ensure paternity.
All right.
85% of millionaires are married.
No, that's good, because that means that they have a strong woman behind them.
I think that women take too much credit. I feel like men that are going to be successful are going to be successful regardless of the women. I think women just take too much credit. Everything's us.
Let's proceed.
In particular, we're all comparing notes, and for the first time, we're getting this freedom because we're like, I'm not buggy. It's not me.
They're all comparing notes. They're getting this freedom. In other words, they are in an echo chamber. Their voice goes out, the beautiful things comes back to them. Their voice comes back. And everybody is about pleasing each other. It is the freaking worst nightmare any man would ever have to endure with dealing with a wife. It's no different than dealing with a cult. A cult that is inside a freaking camp and no one is allowed to go outside to hear anybody else's opinion. Or if you go outside and hear somebody else's opinion, one of the cult members are going to come and tell you, hey, stay away from these people. They're giving you bad information. It's no different. TikTok has become a cult for women, and it's a feel-good cult. Because listen, all cults do is feed you information that makes you feel good. They never tell you anything that makes you feel bad. So now you are in an echo chamber of cult members who are feeding your neurosis, that is feeding your psychosis, that is feeding your delusion, that will ruin your marriage, and I can tell you, you will not be happy. Let's proceed and listen to this crap.
I'm not bad at relationships. The system that we have set up for romantic relationships is just a bad system. It's a system that was designed for men in times when we didn't have our own economic freedom.
It's a system that has been set up for romantic relationships. And this is where the problem comes in. These women just have this delusion of romance. Do you know how romance was created? Romance wasn't created for marriages. Romance was created by Disney and by movies. That's it. Romance was created for romance novels and fantasy novels. It was never created for freaking marriages. It's only in the West where this shit started. In every other culture, there were arranged marriages. Marriages that were arranged for a specific reason. You don't believe me? Please go and research it. India, Africa, Middle East, Asia. This parent said, you married this person. It was always about conserving or combining wealth. Conserving, meaning that instead of marrying someone out of your family, you would marry your cousin. As more and more kids became a little bit more messed up because they were marrying too close to the individual family members, it had to be cousins removed. But the reason for that is the wealth remained within the family name. That was it. Then you had marriages for combination of wealth. That's when one rich family would put the other rich family together so that they would combine resources, take over bigger and better companies. It was just always about the convenience of having the two families joined together by blood. That was it. That was marriages. This whole romance shit is just a fantasy that was created out of somebody's head who thought that they could sell books and sell movies. That was it. But now women look at this as the primary thing in a marriage. And this is why it can't work. If you look at marriage from a romantic perspective, you will lose every single time. Why? Because romance does not maintain itself over long periods of time. It dies. That feel-good feeling, that feeling of, oh, this person, oh, look at him, look at her. She just makes me flush when I see her. Oh, the sex is great. You know, one of the reasons why none of the romance novels or none of the fairy tales goes beyond 2 or 3 years? Because the fantasy fades over time. Cinderella in her 40s and 50s isn't hot and sexy. Neither is the prince who become a king with a big pot belly and the beard, and nothing romantic about that. After 4 kids running around, Mommy, ah! There's no indications of farting in the bed together, you know, one in the toilet while the other one is brushing their teeth. None of that stuff is in romance novel. But you know what? That's the realities of life. None of it talks about, oh, this one lost money and one had a gambling problem, or this one became an alcoholic. None of those realities are in these fantasies. But in real life, this is real shit. Let's proceed with this woman.
It's a system that was designed for men in times when we didn't have our own economic freedom. And now that's changing, and we want to change the system.
All right, and there lies the stupidity, because it all comes down to money now, right? Just because they have a job, they think that the whole idea of marriage should change. They have power now. And this is why I always tell you, gentlemen, always make sure that you make more than the woman that you're with. Sound sexist? No. Because we know hypergamy is a female's worst freaking problem. Hypergamy. Understand what that means, gentlemen. That means if the woman starts to make more money than you, Let's say she gets a promotion, she starts to make more money. She's now the primary breadwinner. Something switches in her head. She feels that now you're below her. She's going to now start to see men at her level or higher more attractive. You have become lesser. Remember that. This is a big problem. I've seen it with quite a few men in my generation who's suffering from that problem, where the woman becomes a total nightmare to deal with, where she just feels that she's the dominant, aggressive woman. All of a sudden, the husband, ends up with another man in the house because women can't help themselves. Okay? If she has more if she decided to go back to college and she becomes more educated than you, hypergamy again. She will now start to look down on you because you're not as educated as her. For women, that is part of their value, not realizing it's not part of their sexual marketplace value. It is part of their social and economic value. But it has nothing to do with you being more attracted to her. But in her head, she is now much better than you. So now she's going to try to find a man equal or above her. And 90% of the time, she's going to be looking for a man 30% higher than her in income bracket and our educational skills. Men, we don't have that problem. We will marry the barista. We will marry the waitress. We will marry anyone below us. We don't care about hypergamy. Not because we want control. We realize that that's how women think. But our desires as men are different. If she's fit, friendly, feminine, and agreeable, we will marry her. The woman's list is this long. But one thing is always, always, always permanent. That man must make equal or more than her. Must. Otherwise, she's not interested in him. You know how many women I know right now, just even up to this morning, I spoke to 2 women. Oh, I have to pay for him and I have to pay for him. The fact that they are paying for stuff from men that they're with and then demeaning those men, calling them deadbeat and trash man. And I say, yeah, I don't understand why you're with these men, because ultimately you're not going to marry them. They're just using you. If you're stupid enough to pay for them, then don't complain. Men, go out and do better. But there's an alternative. Let's listen to this woman again.
Most men right now are still holding the line because they think that we're going to come around. They think that if they hold out long enough that, we'll abandon our own loneliness to be with them. What they fail to understand is we're getting the ick. It's a permanent shift within us as to the way that we view romantic relationships and men in general. We're not going to have to rationally convince ourselves to stay away from those men despite really wanting to be with them. No, we're actually not wanting to be with those men, right? Men will eventually fall like dominoes over a very long period of time. The first group is already falling. These are the men who are in love with their wives and who are generally open-minded, liberal men who are listening to this conversation.
So, the first group of men must become pussies for their wives. What happens when you become a pussy for your wife? Meow, meow. She will put your ass outside. She will dominate you. No woman wants a man that she dominates. So I'm hoping ladies don't listen to this woman, because I can tell you 100% the day that you can push your husband over, he's a pushover and complies with your instructions, you're leaving his ass. Don't tell me otherwise. You know it and I know it, because every single woman who's left their man, they say, he was too soft. Oh, he was a pushover. He was too nice. You all know it. So the second the husband becomes the bitch in the freaking relationship, he's literally signed his death warrant for the marriage. Let's listen to her second type of divorce that's going to happen.
The second group that will fall are going to be the men who were left by a woman because of these issues, and in their grief and their pain, they will contend with this reality. Group that will fall next are the men who cannot contend with their own loneliness anymore and are willing to try anything, including changing the way they approach relationships.
One thing that women don't understand is that there are channels like this that are educating men, right? So what she's basically saying now is that as men get lonelier, that they're gonna have to compromise with women to become the bitch in the relationship. They're gonna have to become what these women want. Who chooses relationships? Who is the one that gets on their knees? Men or women? Men. So I don't understand why she thinks choosing relationship is her choice. She's in charge of sex, but she's not in charge of relationships. Which man wants a dominant, masculine woman? Please tell me. None. So her argument is invalid and stupid. She's just spouting shit that just comes into her head because she's trying to appear like women have the options in this case. Before I tell you this final part, let's go on to the last bit. Let's hear what else she has to say.
The last group of men, which may be decades down the road, are the men who will have no spaces anymore to go and complain about being a victim, because all of those spaces are now going to be filled with men who are like, nah, man, it's an us problem. Then together, we will rewrite relationships.
So here's where this woman, so that's the end of the video. Here's where this woman is so freaking wrong for giving women these advice. Passport bros, the woman's worst nightmare. Let me play you this video.
This is why Western women is mad, because look at her, she's pretty and she's a housewife and she takes care of 2 kids.
It's not our fault. They even say that we steal their men. No, we don't steal your men. Do your men come in here?
There you have it, folks. Asian women are happy that they're getting tall, big, strong Western men to breed with. Now their race will go even taller. So now their next generation of kids will be bigger, taller, stronger. Ha! They're winning. They're happy. In the West, oh, look, bridal companies are going out of business. Yay! As the strong feminists are becoming much more depressed, lonely, dying alone with their cats and dogs. They're winning. Thank you, feminism. That should be a commercial. It's a sad state of affairs, ladies and gentlemen. And who's responsible? Thank feminism. Welcome to your realities, ladies. This is what you want.
Telling men for years that you don't want them, you don't need them, they don't meet your standards, that they don't treat you right. You can pay for your own hair, you can pay for your own nails, afford your own home, you can afford your own car, and are good for nothing. You're strong, you're independent. Then you get mad when these men go to another country to actually find a woman that has the qualities that they are looking for in a wife. Make it make sense. I also want to talk about why this mindset that so many Western women have is actually extremely problematic. Because not only are you putting down the men who are going overseas with pure intentions, you're also putting down the women from these other countries solely off of the fact that they were not brought up in a Western culture. Because you're calling them uneducated, you're calling them poor, you're calling them weak, you're calling them vulnerable. You're creating a superiority complex where you are at the top and women from all these other countries are at the bottom. Now let me tell you something. If you were really superior, the men would not be leaving and you would not be single.
There we go. Men realize that females in the West are listening and following this bullshit. So what they're doing, going to countries which are more conservative and more male-centric and finding their wives there. They're working remotely, keeping their wives in that country, using their US dollars and their pounds and their euros and their dollars and converting those dollars into rupees and dirhams and all these other currencies in the Asian countries and the Middle Eastern countries, because that dollar is worth 10 times more there. Average men in the US are high-valued men in these countries. And they're getting conservative women, beautiful, younger women who understands the value of a man, and they're marrying them. Women in the West are losing. They know it. So I don't understand why this woman thinks that men are going to lose. Second point, you ever heard of a hermit? You know what a hermit is in the old days? That's the man that went up in the mountains and he got a little log cabin. He went off into the bush and he built a little shack. He has his dog. He lives off the land, happy as shit. How many hermit women do you know exist? Very few. Because most women can't survive in the wild. They can't. They don't have the physical strength for it. And they're much more vulnerable being isolated and on their own. In other words, men can live on the freaking street when things get rough. Men can go and buy a prostitute whenever he's horny. Men can get all of his services done. There is nothing a man needs from a woman in a marriage. I'm telling you, marriages do not benefit men. So for some reason, women think that men are going to be worse off. We all know that females are more social than men. A man can get a freaking television, a freaking mattress on the ground, and 2 beers in the fridge, and a couple slices of pizza. Happy as shit. Costs absolutely nothing. Try to get that from a woman. In other words, my friend, I don't like to use derogatory term. This nice lady that we're watching here, men don't have a problem being on their own versus women. Right now, depression for single women are at an all-time high. The reason why OnlyFans accounts are doing so well, because men are using that as their sexual outlet. They don't need you for that. It's cheaper anyway. They realize that the system is against them, because if one of you parasites get your claws in him, all men know that that's it. Their life is pretty much ruined by some woman who wants a divorce and take in half of his assets. Men are saying, no, thank you. I will go to Thailand, I'll go to the Philippines, I will go to any other Latin American country where the women appreciate men for who we are. So women are going to lose. So ladies, when you listen to a woman like this who's giving you really, really bad advice, you're only cutting their own throat. Tell me I'm wrong. And tell me where the problem is. And you tell me what you think. All right, guys, listen, thanks so much for tuning in again today. Like the video, please, so that YouTube can at least see that you guys are getting some value from this. All right, comment, let me know if you have any questions. If you need me, if you need any of my knowledge or just a quick question, hit me up on Instagram so that you guys can send me voice messages and I can respond to you by voice. It's nice and quick and easy, and hopefully I can help as many of you guys as possible. And ladies, listen, I've been getting a few more ladies asking me questions. I'm glad to see that ladies are over here on the male channel trying to understand men, because you want results. Don't listen to these women on TikTok. Personally, if I were you ladies, I would delete TikTok. Seriously. It's destroying too many of you. All right? So guys, and of course, if you need more in-depth counseling and mentorship, you can hit me up on my website where you can book a session for 30 minutes, an hour, very inexpensive. I want to be able to help as many of you guys, as many marriages, as many of us to actually keep coming together and getting the best out of life. All right? And of course, remember this one thing. Whenever you're in doubt, always ask an older man. All right? Cheers.